The mist swirled around the abandoned lighthouse like a living entity, casting an eerie veil over the crumbling stones. The sound of the wind howling through the rusty lantern room sent shivers down my spine as I adjusted the tripod for my camera. The air was thick with an otherworldly chill, and I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. As I set up my equipment, I couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. This was my first solo photography project, and I had chosen the lighthouse as my subject. The isolated location and the haunting atmosphere only added to my excitement. But as I gazed out into the fog, I felt a creeping sense of dread. The lighthouse stood like a monolith, its towering structure looming over the surrounding landscape. The once bright paint had faded to a dull sheen, and the windows were like empty eyes staring back at me. I felt a shiver run down my spine as I raised my camera to my eye, the lens fogging up with condensation. I snapped a test shot, and as the image appeared on the LCD screen, I felt a jolt of fear. It started with small things: a fleeting shadow in the corner of the frame, a wispy mist that seemed to move on its own. At first, I wrote it off as the camera's auto-enhance feature or my imagination playing tricks on me. But as the day wore on, the occurrences grew more frequent and more intense. I saw a figure standing in the doorway, its presence so vivid that I felt a cold sweat break out on my skin. The images were always grainy, always slightly out of focus, but I could make out the features of a woman with long, flowing hair and a white dress that seemed to glow in the dim light. I tried to shake off the feeling that I was being manipulated, that the camera was somehow summoning these apparitions. But as the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the lighthouse, I knew I had to get out of there. I tried to pack up my gear and leave, but my feet seemed rooted to the spot. The woman's image appeared in every frame, her eyes seeming to follow me as I moved. I felt a presence closing in around me, the air growing colder by the minute. I knew I had to get out of there, but my camera seemed to have a mind of its own. As night began to fall, the images grew more intense. The woman's face was twisted in a silent scream, her eyes black as coal. I felt a hand on my shoulder, and I spun around. But there was no one there. The wind howled through the lantern room, and I knew I was not alone. I tried to take a step back, but my foot seemed to be stuck to the ground. The camera was still, the LCD screen glowing with an otherworldly light. I knew I had to destroy it, to break the curse that had taken hold of me. But as I raised the camera to smash it, the woman's face appeared on the screen, her eyes blazing with a malevolent fury. In a flash of insight, I realized the horrifying truth. I wasn't capturing the ghosts in my photographs. I was creating them. The camera was a conduit for some dark force, a vessel for the spirits that lurked beyond the veil. And I was the unwitting puppeteer, drawing them into the world with every snap of the shutter. As I stared in horror at the camera, the woman's image began to fade, replaced by a vision of the lighthouse itself. The structure seemed to be twisting and contorting, its stones shifting like a living thing. I felt a searing pain in my mind, as if the camera was burning a hole in my brain. The last thing I saw was the woman's face, her eyes blazing with a final, fierce cry. And then the darkness closed in, a void of nothingness that consumed me whole. The police found my camera the next morning, lying on the ground near the lighthouse. But when they developed the final roll of film, there was only one image, a photograph of an empty room, with a single word scrawled on the wall in my own handwriting: "Help."